Well, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, wherever you are in the world. My name's Nathan, and welcome to another Sydney Saxophone Network Q&A session. This evening we have a special edition. Now, for those who may not be aware, our series here normally features interviews with artists from Sydney and New South Wales, but our special editions give us scope to venture across the border to other states across Australia or even overseas. And this evening we're going to be venturing far north to the Northern Hemisphere, the furthest we've travelled since COVID anyway, and we're going to be talking to two fine musicians in the United Kingdom about a fantastic online project they started called Lock the Sax Down. And these two musicians are Emma McPhilemy and Jenni Watson. Now, both of these musicians should be familiar to you as they have visited Australia before. Emma had recently performed at the Melbourne Saxophone Festival last year and also gave concerts in Perth at Whopper. Emma is a Selma, Van Doren and Keyleaves artist. She graduated from the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester and recently completed her International Artist Diploma under the tuition of Rob Buckland. She is a multi-faceted musician, so she is equally at home in classical as well as commercial music, which is evident with her some of her notable career highlights, including being musical director and saxophone soloist with the production of Riverdance, which has toured all around the world, at least before COVID. She has also performed solo with the BBC Philharmonic, performing work that she had commissioned by composer Tom Harold. And yeah, she's like an amazing musician, and if you hear any of her recordings, highly recommend checking them out. Now, we also have Jenni Watson. Now, Jenni wears many hats. She's a saxophonist, a composer, an arranger, and a multi-instrumentalist. Lots of things juggling there, but she's equally proficient at all of them. She also graduated from the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester, completing her bachelor's and master's. She's released 2 albums, well, actually a few more, but of note would be Honeystorm and Reflections. She has also written a whole bunch of music out there, and her composition style is really accessible. It has a lot of influences from all manner of genres, from popular to classical, and it's the melting pot of music there just makes it just a very unique and refreshing style, which is quite appropriate for modern music, so to say. She also performs regularly with her duo partner, Martin Jacoby. Martin, if you're listening, hello. And also is the tenor saxophonist with the Kaleidoscope Saxophone Quartet. So this evening, these two musicians are going to be talking to us about the Lock the Sax Down project. Now, if you're not sure what Lock the Sax Down is, I'd highly recommend go investigate this on Instagram. There are many videos out there. It was set up initially as a weekly challenge where Emma would record one of Jenni's pieces, like a minute snippet, and Jenni would give backing tracks and sheet music freely available to anyone who wanted to participate. There was also some scopes for some giveaways as well, kindly donated by Keyleaves, I believe, recently. And they're currently working towards putting together all these pieces in their full in the form of an album, which is currently on Kickstarter. So if you're interested in being involved with that, please be sure to throw a few pounds their way to see all this fantastic music come to life. So this evening, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Emma and Jenni talking about Lock the Sax Down.
Hi, thank you very much.
All right, thanks for joining us. Now, Emma, just to, in terms of that Riverdance gig, how did you get involved in that?
So it would have been 4 years ago I started working with the company, and I was still at college. I was in my 3rd year at RNCM out of 4 years. And I got an email from this guy, random guy, I had no idea who it was, saying, oh, you know, you've been recommended to us, would you audition for this position? I thought it was a joke. So I replied like, who is this? And then I spoke to Rob Buckland, my teacher. I was like, oh, this is such a bizarre email. He's like, Emma, that was real. Reply now. I was like, oh my God. Okay, so I replied. And it was one of the conductors for the college, one of the college ensembles that saw me play. I think it was in wind orchestra or something. And he had a friend in the office for Everdance. So he was asked if he knew of any young female sax players that would be good for the role, and he put my name forward. And then I just sent in my audition tapes, and a week later got the job. And 1 week after that, I had to have memorized the entire show and start rehearsals for the tour.
Crikey. All right. And then you got the gig, obviously.
Yeah, got the gig, and we did two weeks rehearsal before we started on the road. So it was very quick turnaround.
Wow. So now, Jen, you are a what can we say? Saxophonist, composer, multi-instrumentalist. You wear many hats, and you perform saxophone amazingly. And like Emma, you toured here, there, and everywhere. You've done a lot of international touring, and you've equally done a fantastic amount of work as a composer as well. Can you tell us maybe just any particular highlights that you can recall in terms of your performance career that sort of stand out to you?
That's a great question.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, so you were mentioning about the composing as well, and yeah, just to sort of put this in context, I started composing, well, I've been sort of fiddling around for a long time, and then during my college years in Manchester, at the conservatoire, started writing more pieces for myself and then my friends and stuff. And then so in terms of highlight of my own performing, at the end of my time at the conservatoire, you've obviously got your final recitals, and there's also something called the gold medal competition. So I was doing all this and a few concertos. But for my master's final recital, my teacher, also Rob Buckland, said, in a way, why have you come back to the same institution to do your master's in the same place? And for me, those reasons were obvious, but he said, if you're going to do that, your composition's taken off. In order to step things up again, why don't you write your whole final recital? And for someone who's only just done a piece here and there, that was quite a daunting thing, but exciting too. So I ended up writing my final recital and had an absolute whale of a time. And I was just really lucky that on the panel for that, there was the conductor of the chamber music ensemble, the new contemporary music ensemble for the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra. It was called Ensemble 1010. And he said, oh, there's this big festival coming up in Liverpool. It's like a big international festival. We'd like to take this music and put it into that festival. So we had like musicians from all over Liverpool volunteering to process the music through the streets and stuff. So we had all sorts of instruments taking this music. And so, yeah, it was like this one seed of an idea that just sort of turned into this massive community event. And things like that really appeal to me, where you can just, rather than it being one gig, it's something that sort of takes something and then morphs it into another idea and project and brings other people in. So yeah, anything like that really appeals to me. So rather than saying like one concert highlight, that's what I'd say is kind of the thing that sticks in my mind, because it's the thing that set me off on this path of doing more composition and working with people a bit more.
Yeah, nice one. And Emma, I just want to throw same sort of question for you as well, or maybe we could rephrase it thanks to Jenny's answer there. Is there pre-COVID, was there a particular sort of concert highlight for you, or musical project, or some sort of a musical experience that had sort of been a standout thing for you or influential?
For classical playing, it would be my debut with the BBC Philharmonic. Tom Harrold wrote me a concerto for my performance, and it was like the best feeling ever. The orchestra were just phenomenal, and it was so great to play a piece that I'd commissioned in that scenario. I was doing the International Artist Diploma at the college, and there are 3 people per year on the course. So I did a 4-year undergrad, had a year out, and then I went back, similar to Jen, for a 1-year performance part. So you normally just go and do a concerto. So a pre-existing piece, but I wanted so badly to commission something significant, and it is, biased, maybe one of the best concertos I think I've heard in recent years. So I hope I can perform it again at some point, or record it or something, because it's awesome. So that for classical.
Yep.
For more corporate gigs and stuff, I would say this year performing at 3 Arena Dublin, and being part of the Riverdance 25th anniversary performances, which were filmed and released in cinemas. That was one of the biggest highlights for me. The crowd was like 8,000 people or something crazy. It was just unbelievable feeling. So yeah, I'd say in the last year have been the best gigs for me in terms of that. So yeah.
Wow, cool. And both of those responses, it sort of ties really nicely with where we're going to next, and that's actually talking about this great project that both of you have come up with, is the Lock the Sax Down. Now, for those who may not be aware, could you tell us what it is, first of all?
Should I go first, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't want to be talking over anybody.
That's all good.
So, Lock the Sax Down is a online challenge series where each week we would prepare and release a demo video of one of Jen's pre-existing compositions for saxophone and piano, which has then been redeveloped with backing track, so that sax players everywhere have a new way of practicing, especially when lockdown rules were so strict and we couldn't play with any musicians. You know, you can't rehearse with pianists, you can't play in chamber ensembles. So actually having, as a saxophone player, sitting on top of an ensemble or a group and trying to mesh with the instruments and the sounds, it kind of challenges you in different ways. And I thought, well, we both thought it would be a really nice thing to have at home, but also expose people to new music and to Jen's fabulous repertoire. So yeah, we started doing that, and we did one, and it really took off, and we got loads of people involved. And then each week we'd release a new one with a different sort of vibe or specific focus area on, I don't know, technique or something. And the response was really good. So we loved doing it. We still love doing it. It's really taken off, and really proud of it, you know?
All right, cool. And did you expect it to take off as much as you thought as it had, or was it sort of like you weren't really sure what to expect?
Jen?
Yeah, I'll go for this one. Yeah, we really didn't know what to expect. This is going to be interesting. No, it's we sort of just thought, if we're feeling this sort of despondent and unmotivated to practice as much as we want to get ourselves motivated, we needed something new. We thought we're definitely not going to be alone, and we saw a lot of that, people posting stuff about being unmotivated, and so we just thought we'd put it out there and see. I mean, I hadn't really even used Instagram before all of this.
God, so I remember. I was
having to ask Emma how to use this Instagram and how do I do this, and getting it all wrong. So it's been a learning curve for me. But so we just did the first one. The first one was called Ray. It's an alto piece. It's quite slow and pretty. And we thought, you know what? Something just nice music, not technically whizzy or, you know, overly sophisticated or complicated, just something nice to listen to. And so we created the backing track, put it out just to see. And then, yeah, first one came in from this guy in Italy that we didn't know, called Marcus, who's been a really regular contributor, actually. It's lovely. And then just over the next few days, hours, it just really crept up. So within a couple of days, we had loads of players doing this, and from all over the place. We've now got players from like 14 countries doing it. And yeah, it's been so lovely, because the response from a lot of them is that it's providing this sort of motivation to keep playing, but also that they feel part of this like new little community of players, because we're all getting to know each other a bit better now, and we're talking about various saxophone and non-saxophone related things, and I think it's helped everyone feel a bit more connected, which is just this huge bonus that we weren't expecting. So.
Yeah.
Cool. And just another question for you, Jen. Emma was saying before that these pieces were pre-existing before the challenge was launched. But is that entirely true, or were there some things you had to write as you went along, or was it all just from your previous catalogue?
Yeah, so predominantly it's saxophone and piano music. Basically, we had already spoken before. Emma had commissioned a piece from me a while ago. And as part of working together, we thought we're quite on the same wavelength. So there'd always been this idea for Emma to record some like video promo, a couple of my pieces for sax and piano. And obviously when COVID hit, that wasn't going to happen. And so when we had this idea that we wanted to reach out and connect with players, it seemed like a nice fit to take that music we were going to record together anyway and just find a new way to do it. Because I do play other instruments, and I thought I could play around with creating these new backing tracks, you know, adding layers of violin and flute, sometimes vocals, whatever, to the backing track and give it like a new lease of life. So most of them did exist as sax and piano, and I've completely reinvented a new arrangement, sometimes changing the style quite completely. And there's one solo work in there called Downpour, which means everyone's got a bit more freedom to musically express themselves in that one. And then as it's gone on, we've just thought, well, because it's become popular and people are wanting more and more, we'll just look around the back catalogue and choose a few different ones to see where we go. So there's one called Shiver, for example, which already had a backing track with it. You love that one. Oh, that's great. And it's got an improv section in it, and it's quite folky, so it ties in really well with Emma's Riverdance stuff. So it means that, you know, there's a new improv section in that now, and there's new harmonies that she's added with sort of her flavour on top, which is great. So yeah, it's most sax and piano reinvented, but there's a few different ones in there too. And off the back of it, we've had people sort of commissioning new pieces as well. So I'm wondering whether, depending how long this lasts, we might have extracts of those new pieces that have been born out of the series, which would be a nice sort of cyclical thing. Yeah.
Cool. Idea. Now, Emma, for you, in terms of the performance preparation and recording of all these like 1 minute snippets of all these pieces, what were some of the pros and cons that you faced during this process, like in terms of maybe, you know, dealing with technology for the first time, or you know, issues with like trying to get it out? Because I understand that you guys were doing it on a weekly basis, and you know, it's a lot to put together in the course of a week.
Yeah. I had really never explored home recording before this point, and I remember thinking, oh, you know, I've got the gear, I've had the gear for years, and I just never sat down and worked it all out. I was thinking, no, it's fine, I've got it. And then, I mean, the amount of issues we ran into, especially on the first one, like it would clip, my mic would clip, or it would peak, or whatever. And it sounds so silly now, even thinking about it, because now I know how to solve these issues. But at the start, I literally had no idea what I was doing. I remember the mic placement. I was the other side of the room, like trying to make this sound nice. And I remember we had so many upload issues, and we just weren't sure on like the appropriate file size, and there were so many hurdles. And we'd put like a deadline saying, you know, we'll release at 7 p.m. and it was like 10, and my gosh, I was still trying to fix everything and get it down. But yeah, that was more of the issue for me. I mean, the actual playing side of it, obviously I enjoy immensely, so that was more of like it was something really enjoyable. I put together my own interpretation and make sure that I was happy with the phrasing and my kind of the vibe of it, I guess. But yeah, the recording stuff took a while to settle for me, for sure. And I remember, do you remember when I put it and you were like, it's only coming through one ear? I was like, why? I'm trying to send it back and trying to sort it all out, and I just didn't even know what to do. So I spent a lot of time on YouTube trying to figure that out.
Right. So it sounds like most of it's out there, like, you know, sort of being thrown in this world. The playing side of things, not a problem, but in terms of recording and, you know, as you say, like most of us probably had most of the gear at home anyway, and then when push came to shove, we were kind of thrown in the deep end and had to sort of learn as we went. But no, it sounds like it was yeah, very universal problem we all had. Um,
Yeah.
Now, just another question, Emma. You sort of touched on that just in terms of the playing, and you enjoyed it, and putting your own spin on the music and things like that. Just in regards to the interpretation of all these things, like, I mean, some of the Lock the Sax Down excerpts had some elements of freedom to it. So as Jen was saying, there's the one with some improvisation bits in it now, and also Downpour had some fairly freeness to it. How did you sort of go about it's kind of an interesting question, because what I'm trying to get at here is basically you're trying to create a sort of a guide track that people can sort of follow along with to give them the reference, and you're setting the benchmark, so to speak, and then interpreting that music. And Jen's music's very it's so many different influences in there, and for you in particular, you are definitely one of the ideal interpreters of her music because of your diverse background musically as well. How did you approach it sort of musically, in terms of, like, was there a thought process involved, or like?
Oh my goodness. I have to dive really deep down now. I'm trying to think. For the first one, I remember we were toying with the idea of, well, which piece to do. Do you remember we had a folder of options, and you were thinking more slow stuff, we basically categorized things, or faster, more energetic pieces, and we chose Ray. And I remember messaging you saying, oh, this is beautiful, like, great, because I feel like everyone always wants something slow and beautiful for like a recital program, but that's a little bit challenging, but it shouldn't seem challenging, if you see what I mean. So with this piece, there's like a crazy altissimo section just like in the middle, so it's simple, but you have to have honed technique to get this, to do it justice. It's not about just hitting the notes, it's about making it into the phrase, and not playing it as if it's altissimo, playing it as if it's just the range of the instrument. And that was always yeah, exactly. And I think we forget that a lot, especially when there's challenging elements. And that was kind of at the forefront of my mind. Jen's music is really accessible. It's lovely to listen to. We get so much music these days, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of contemporary music. I love the challenge it presents. I love it for different reasons. But we thought this was a really nice middle ground, in that the music is gorgeous, but it's also challenging in lots of different ways. So I wanted to make sure that the difficult sections just flowed nicely when I played it. And I rather than send myself going crazy over obsessing about things, I just listened to it a few times through, and the pieces are fairly short. I kind of gauged the vague arc of what I wanted, and then went for it. And I just didn't want to spend too long obsessing over it, because we had to churn them out so regularly, So yeah, I think that's a nice thing about the project, is people are invited to interpret the music however they want. And I think we both agreed on my performance of that piece at that time. We were both happy with it. So yeah, that was a very long-winded answer, but I hope that makes sense.
No, totally does. And I suppose that's another element of it too. Like, I had a crack at one of these once, and one of the challenges I found was actually, even though it's a 1 minute thing, it's actually really hard to get a really good take. And it's very easy to sort of, mull over recording after recording and recording, and you listen back, and then you probably find that maybe the second or third take you had was actually all right in the first place.
The best one.
Yeah. Was that something similar for you as well? Like, did you find that you sort of, like, initially when you started, you might have sort of, I want to get more and more takes, and then you sort of became a bit more so like, I've kind of got it once you've done your preparations?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with the demos, they were the full pieces, so they were 4 or 5 minutes long.
Oh wow. Okay.
So there were a couple towards the end that we did a 1 minute excerpt of, because the pieces were like 10 minutes long, for example. Right. But yeah, when I sat down to do it, I was there, I was in it, and I was just getting it done. But I remember there were a couple of times where I said to Jen, right, today's the day, and then I'd get there and be like, today is not the day. And I say, tomorrow. And she's like, that's fine. But it's when I'm in the right zone and place for it, I can sit down and do it, and that's fine. But if I'm not there, then there's no point forcing it, because I just won't come up with material I'm happy with, you know?
Yeah, of course. And just one other question, Emma, just with, you know, having the challenge itself and being like little snippets of each piece, and then, like, as you said, you sort of did the 1 minute snippet for the longer works towards the end. How was it like recording those sort of out of context of the whole piece? Was it, that would have been a bit strange, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now because we did, how many 1 minute ones did we do? Was it literally Melee? Was that the only one?
Conformity.
And Conformity. Oh, that's right, yeah. For me, with Conformity, it was fine because I knew the piece inside out. I performed it, so I knew the general vibe of that section. Yep. Melee was challenging because we literally did pick a 1 minute chunk out of it, and I haven't performed the work, so that was challenging. But I don't know, I kind of just went with what I felt at the time, and I listened to the whole work and tried my best to slot it in, I guess. Yeah. I don't know, I kind of just went with it.
Okay. No, it's interesting because there's obviously some different approaches that you took with all these different pieces. Like, you know, you would go record the whole piece a few times, and then maybe bits of the piece, and then just sort of would be interesting because, you know, there are pieces that exist, but then some pieces are sort of But no, it's cool, just sort of working it out. Now, Jen, sorry, Jenny, back to you. You later on in the series, you make an appearance, performing and doing an assortment of musical things on the videos as well. How did you get coerced into being involved on the playing side of things as well as composing for these?
Yeah, well, certainly the coercion was more in terms of putting myself on video. This whole lockdown thing, and I'm sure I'm not alone, I genuinely have quite a phobia of video cameras. And so this whole Zoom world, social media, video camera thing was pretty daunting, but you've just got to kind of get over it. So that was the biggest thing for me. But in terms of playing on the pieces, that first one particularly, Ray, which was just sax and piano, as Emma said, it's got this huge arc of range, this big altissimo, and the piano part is really quite simple in most places. It's just sort of these steady chords underneath. And I thought, I wonder whether this would be crying out for some added richness from layering up the violin, particularly to have that warmth from the string sound. So it's more a case of I just got the demo I already had up in Logic and just sort of improvised over the top, adding some lines in. I thought, this is absolutely crying out for some strings. Yeah. So it was more a case of it's just what this sounds so cheesy, but it's what the music was needed, I think. And so we added strings to that first one. And then the next one we thought, okay, this is quite upbeat, quite folky, and what else do I have around? So I've got, used to be first study flute a long time ago, and it's really nice to be able to bring these instruments back out again, to be honest, and have a reason for playing them other than my own pleasure in practice. So stuck flute on them, and then, you know, other ones had a different vibe, so adding percussion to it, and it was just a great exercise for me in hearing my own pieces in a new way. And I think it's made me feel a little bit freer as a composer with my own music. A, to hear it a different way, and B, hearing other people's interpretation of it. And I think it's been really useful for me to have that, rather than this one blinkered view of that's exactly how I want it to be phrased, that's exactly how it should, that's just the piece, it exists like that. And now I'm a bit more like, hey, these pieces exist, let's go and have some fun with them. And so that's been really useful for me, and I love it, absolutely love it. It's a really nice excuse to get the instruments out and playing again.
Nice one. Now, just a question for both of you. Now, I understand, Jen, you're fairly new to Instagram, only since the start of this project. But why Instagram out of all the other social platforms? What did you think that Instagram could do that the others couldn't in terms of propelling this project out into the mainstream?
Well, we put them on all social media platforms anyway. Make sure that's all covered: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But my following was bigger on Instagram for some reason. So I thought that would be a good place to start, because we'd get more engagement at the start. And I just feel like at the moment, especially with, I don't know, students currently in music college or university, it's a much more popular platform for practice videos, and, you know, people document their playing in the practice room and performance wise and all sorts of stuff. And I just thought, you know, the use of the hashtag and making a trend, it's easy to find all the videos, and I think it's just a more actively engaging platform to do this for. So yeah, I just said, right, let's stick on Instagram, and people do a lot of videos promoting, especially in the story option as well. And yeah, I remember we talked about it and you were like, what's a story? I was like, on there. And then you were like, oh, but every time I click this button, then this thing disappears and all sorts. And I was like, okay, go back on that thing. But it was, yeah, it was definitely it's definitely the one we've got the most engagement from, I think, Instagram for sure. And doing the various Instagram lives and all that kind of thing, it's helped draw a bigger audience. And then since then, you know, we've created this group of participants on Facebook. So we're kind of connected in lots of ways, and I think it just worked well for us at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think particularly in terms of having a bigger reach internationally, if you see what I mean, like you say, by having the use of the hashtag, and that's the main platform for people anyway, it meant that we weren't just promoting this stuff to our own Facebook friends. It just felt a bit weird, you know, and we're just really finding a lot of new people to connect with through Instagram, and then building on those connections on the other social media platforms, like you say, with the Facebook group, or people go to YouTube to go and see your full demos of the whole piece again, and that kind of thing.
Okay, no, it certainly makes sense. Like, obviously the hashtag is an important factor in terms of having that sort of centralized that tag really sort of, you know, direct all the traffic there as well. But also Instagram being a much more visual platform than, say, Facebook or something else kind of helps as well, because then you just put the videos up and it's there. Now, in terms of videos, would it be possible maybe to sort of get a sample video just to sort of see an example of one of these challenges?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so for example, try the screen share option.
Okay.
So this would be a little 1-minute demo of one of the pieces that we put out, and then people then download the music for free, maybe watch the whole demo from Emma and upload their own version. So let's go for this one. Tell me if there's any problems, but I will share this. Can you see this?
Yep.
Oh, it's me.
Funny
that.
With long hair.
Cool.
For example.
At the end, like.
Right. Okay, so
It's a long prayer.
Right, so that's the demo that people see when they want to go check out the challenge, and it's obviously Emma there playing, and you playing the shaky thing as well. I'm not sure of the technical term of that, but look fun. Cool. And then from there, people get directed to the website where they could find the music and the download track to practice with, and then they put it together, splice it together, and then they upload their version on Instagram with the hashtag, and then that's literally how it sort of goes along. So do we have an example of maybe a participant maybe that we can sort of see?
Yeah. Well, what I do have to hand is something where I was saying when it took off within the first few days, and we were quite surprised how many videos were coming in. I was so excited by this, and trying to use iMovie, which I hadn't used before either. Okay. I tried to splice them all together to sort of show this. So I'm going to try sharing that one. Give me 1 second as to where that has disappeared to. But I tried to splice.
Oh,
go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, do you remember every time we'd get a notification that someone had uploaded something, we're like, oh my gosh, there's another one.
We've got Italy, we've got Brazil. So just get rid of this one.
Okay, so right, this is a compilation, is that right?
That's right, yeah. This was like a few days into the project, right at the back at the end of May, with our first piece. There's a little compilation of some of the players from around the world.
Emotional.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. A few.
It is really nice to see it again and put yourself back in that mindset of these people like what we're doing. Yeah, it was good.
And it's obviously grown exponentially since then as well. But yeah, lots of familiar faces there from around the globe as well. And you know, it's grown and grown and grown, and it's pretty much covered a lot of countries over there. Were there any particular sort of videos from certain countries that you were surprised to get? Like, say, like maybe a country that maybe not either of you maybe never have even been to or even have heard of, or something really random like that? Or was it all sort of like, you know, mainly European, American, Australian, or was there like some left field country in the mix there?
We had, well, it came up as Serbia, and then it was Russia. But this guy, in Russia, neither of us know who he is, but he's done a couple of those ones, which is lovely. It's really nice.
Colombia's one.
Yeah, with Valentina, who's become like a really nice friend now. She's trying to learn English, I'm trying to learn Spanish, and communicating with the help of Google Translate, but yeah, it's developing a nice little relationship there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in terms of the project, it's now gone to a new stage in terms of both of you are putting together the recording of all the works in their full entirety. And I understand that there is currently a crowdfunding campaign to help sort of realize the fruition of this project. So if there's a lot of participants out there, how do we sort of get involved in, you know, making this happen? What's the best way to do that?
I'll go. It's we're doing it through Kickstarter. And so I've put a link in the chat, but I'm sure you'll be able to share that link anyway. But everything to do with Lock the Sax Down exists on my site, just so it's in one place. So jenniwatson.com, Jenny with an I. And so we have a whole Lock the Sax Down page. And so that's where you go to download the music, see the demo videos, but obviously also now we have the Kickstarter link in there and the little promo video for that. even if you just won't go on Kickstarter itself and type in Lock the Sax Down, I believe that comes up. So that's where you can pre-order a CD. That's one of the best ways, in our opinion, in terms of what we would love to see happening, is pre-ordering a CD, and that becomes a pledge to actually allow the CD to be made in the first place, rather than asking for money and then later down the line asking you to buy the CD. If you like the music, just pre-order, and that helps us fund to get the producer in, get it professionally mastered and manufactured. But there's lots of other rewards on there as well. Saxophone lessons with Emma, you could have a piece specially written for you, an online recital. I've got lots of different rewards listed on the Kickstarter page.
Wow. So yeah, it seems to be you get a lot more out of it donating. So yeah, it sounds like a great initiative, and I think the crowdsourcing thing, there's a lot of people out there who are involved and would love to sort of hear everything in its entirety in that one album. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, it gets to the finish line all good. But I'll certainly, well, I think I did make a pledge, but yeah, I'll make sure I'll hassle other people to do the same. Now, with this Lock the Sax Down project, I've got a question for both of you. I might start with you, Emma. Just the involvement with this project, how has it sort of impacted you on your musical direction in terms of, has it had a positive impact, or has it sort of upskilled you in certain areas? What have you felt you've gotten out of going through this whole process?
I feel that this whole project has been nothing but positive for me personally, and I know for Jen as well. And I'm like not alone here, musicians everywhere have had so much work cancelled, no hope for performances, no hope for collaborative projects in person and all this stuff. And I was supposed to be on tour for the whole year, and it all just came crashing down. And I was not happy about the situation. And we were talking back and forth. I remember this. I think I was out on a dog walk when I said, "Oh, have you thought about making backing tracks? Like, maybe we could do this." And you were like, "Oh, that's a great idea." And then we got really excited about it, and we just went for it. And it's helped me with, home recording, just to a basic level and all this kind of stuff. But it's made it more of a achievement because we've helped other people. And the responses we've got have been so positive, in that they love the music, they love the concept of playing with a track that we've made, being part of something a bit bigger, because over lockdown you weren't able to go anywhere or see anybody and play with anyone. And we've all had to adapt to online, which I think also has been great and definitely improved social media skills and all this stuff. There's been loads of benefits, but just to create something that's bigger than you and your own, I guess, not selfish practice, but I guess kind of, playing for yourself, there's more to it than that. And we're providing the tools for people to use so that they feel happier practicing. So I don't know, I just think it's been great for us to have a bigger purpose, because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm just doing stuff for myself, and maybe this is something I need to work on, I never feel enough motivation. But when it's for me and other people, or people are relying on me, I will always make way more of an effort. And maybe that needs to change. But it's definitely given me a focus. And because it was weekly, we'd get one out and then we'd be like, "Oh, okay, done. Oh my gosh, what's next? Like, we need to start thinking about this now." And it was great. And it was great to, throw ideas back and forth and be creative with one another and think about how we can incorporate different styles into the music and how to execute it. And yeah, it's been so rewarding. And I'll look back on this time, which has been a nightmare for so many reasons, but we've really created something that I think is long lasting through the process, and has helped people as well as us. So again, very long-winded answer, but I feel very happy with what we've done.
No. Yeah, and I'd agree with everything you said there. Absolutely. About being more motivated when working with other people, connecting with people, getting out of your own head.
Yeah, big time.
Right now. But certainly with regards to the music, I think we were sort of really keen. Everyone's got enough on the music stand already, and there's a lot of technically challenging pieces out there. And I think we just wanted to provide something that, you know, you've like you said earlier, you've got to have the technique to, I don't want to say do it justice when it's my music, but you know what I mean, to be able to give it a performance of it, but something that's not too contemporary and is just hopefully quite accessible to listen to. So even in terms of putting this now together as an album, we're really hoping that it's got sort of a wider appeal than just to saxophonists, because it's more melodic based music. And yeah, it's been, the positivity we've had from people has encouraged us to keep it going, which is great.
I think it's been important to say as well, we talked about which directions take in the challenge element at the start, and you know, we talked about the hashtag, and that, you know, you can find all the videos in one place, and we want to make sure that it kind of spreads internationally, but we didn't want it to be something competitive where you could compare yourself negatively to other people. And that's why I think it's good that the music is the main focus. You know, you always, competitions are great, they push you technique wise, and you know, make you more resilient to continue and all this stuff. But at this point, when people are feeling particularly vulnerable about their career and, you know, the arts, it really wasn't anything we'd considered being competitive or you're the best, you're the winner, well done this week, you win. You know, it's just, we wanted to totally eliminate that and just make it an inclusive thing where people can listen to other people's interpretations and maybe learn from it. And that's it, you know. So that's why the prize draws and stuff like that came off the back of it were always selected at random, just for people taking part. And I think that it's gone down well, having that drive behind it.
Okay, cool. I think, no, you're spot on. Like, as you were saying, Emma, like, I'm sure a lot of musicians out there sort of felt a little bit aimless when COVID happened, and it was really hard to, you know, keep motivated and practice without anything to actually practice for. And what you guys have put together is just a little initiative that people can, you know, something to aim for on a weekly basis. And as you say, it's not a pressure thing in any way. Like, you know, it is a challenge, but it's not like a competitive challenge. It's music that's accessible and, you know, achievable by, you know, lots of people out there. And it's just a great little project for people to do. And I think, you know, it's really helped a lot of people in terms of just having something to sort of work towards and aim towards and practice towards. So I think, yeah, all in all, it's a fantastic thing you two have done. So
thank you.
Really nice.
Now, just a bit of a deep question. In terms of like, obviously you know, been using the Lock the Sax Down and, you know, this online initiative in terms of, you know, the interactive performance, like having the music out there, doing collaboration, stuff like that. How do you envisage like online music making in terms of like what you guys have done? Do you see that as being like sort of a direction that music's going to head towards post-COVID? Like, what do you think the impact of this sort of online music making is going to have long term?
I'll go while you're
Sorry, it's a bit of a deep one, that one.
Well, it's a really interesting question, and I think there's positives to be taken from it. You know, you could see as soon as all the lockdowns were happening that people in the arts were getting really creative with getting online and getting on board with that. But in terms of long term, what I see is the positives from it are being able to connect with people further afield. So, you know, before you would only you would only have like masterclasses, say, with someone who was actually flown into your conservatoire or whatever. And now that's all happening online. I think it means that people in so many different countries are going to be able to have access to so many more people for masterclass and concert series, to be able to be inspired by people, that it's not going to have such a detrimental impact on the funding behind these conservatoires, because there's more access to people. And being able to collaborate with people, I think it kind of kind of open up the ideas of who you can collaborate with and in what way, and use it as a positive way to look at the new challenge. Obviously it's a world apart from actually making music with people, and I cannot wait to get in a room with people and play again. But if we can sort of look at it as a new challenge, I think that could still continue as a way of cross collaborations, particularly from country to country, to, you know, build up projects, multi-layered things, and even be able to see people's concerts. I would like to sort of be advocating for people to donate money for online recitals, because I think if we are heading that way, it's the one thing we've got left is going online, and if it's all provided for free, I don't see that as a particularly positive thing myself, but the access to it, absolutely. So I think those would be a lot of the positives for me, as long as they stay an add-on, and that the value of being in a room with live music is not lost for people.
Yeah,
I would say that. Yeah, I think in terms of like masterclasses with people, you know, overseas, perfect tool, like, and something that is super beneficial now, because, you know, it's just so much more accessible. You can be anywhere. But I really hope that people don't lose how important live music is, because there's just nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Like, vibing off another musician is like one of the best things in the world, the best feeling. You know, I did a concert recently, and it was for Leicester Music Festival, and it was with my duo partner, and I remember that the only people in the room were 3 cameramen, the organizer, someone else, can't remember who that was, and it was just me and Phil on the stage. And I took a look at the music before we started, and I was like, can I still do this? Like, really, can I still do this? Because it was a tough program. But as soon as we started, and we were in an amazing venue, and it was all going to be pre-recorded to be released later, but like, you can't replace live reaction and being a musician with someone else, online learning or performing, because it's just, it reminded me, it's so easy to lose, and that is the scary thing, because I've forgotten that feeling. And there's something that's one of the reasons I do this, is for that feeling, you know, real-time reaction with someone else in music is the best thing ever. And I just really hope that we can get all that back.
It occurred to me off the back of what you were saying then, is that along with the importance of the live music, I think it's quite important to, not for just the feeling of it, but it's starting to worry me whether the more online stuff, the more pre-practiced perfectionism seeking videos will be out there, and so that will, if that becomes an expected norm, you could have the most fantastic player, but a little slip up could be shocking in a concert performance, whereas actually that's just normal. And I think we need to make sure that, you know, the stuff that's going online, of course we're all seeking perfection, but if you edit it together so there's no mistakes, you're just giving a false sense of the music making. But I have to confess, the other day I haven't been going out much, I just don't want to take any risks, but we did go out, and we went as part of looking around a place into a church, and they were rehearsing Evensong. And I have to admit to having a little bit of a cry, because I thought, I think this is the first live music I have heard in this entire time. And it was just so beautiful. And I thought, God, if even I've forgotten how much it can affect you, we need to get, I mean, you guys have been doing concerts, haven't you? I know with a quartet with Nexus.
Well, it's all live streamed, so there's no audience or anything, but so you're making music with people, but... But no, I think, after all this, I mean, hopefully people sort of have a better appreciation for live music. You know, the saying is, you know, you don't really miss it until it's gone, as they say. And, hopefully that sort of does that. But there's certainly a danger that, you know, the over abundance of online material out there could certainly devalue it, particularly with free concerts and things like that. So hopefully, it doesn't sort of head that way. Now, in terms of the Lock the Sax Down project, what's the future for this project once you've got the album completed? Is there going to be a second round of these coming up, or what's the plan, or is there a plan?
There is,
Yeah, well,
there are plans.
so
There are plans.
me, what are our plans? So yeah, we sort of hit a point where when we were initially looking at the pieces and deciding which ones to do, we were quite far in advance of knowing how many pieces we were going to, or which pieces we were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has provided the basis of what we've done in the series so far. And because the Kickstarter campaign went really well at the beginning, and we have lots of backers and lots of faith, Emma's actually been in the studio with the producer and recorded the first half of the album. And so we, although the weekly challenges took a little pause, both for our own sakes, and also we noticed, you know, people in other countries were getting back into their uni studies, or were being able to rehearse and perform again.
Yep.
We thought it was a good time to take a little pause and reflect, and then think about what the next steps are. And so we have a few more pieces, because I think people are definitely wanting more of them again, which is lovely. So we'll have more coming out again, and also that will sort of feed into the second half of the album, if you like. So yeah, more pieces to come, maybe more prize draws, we'll see. They've gone down really well.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd like some feedback from the players really as to what they'd like to see next, because a lot of people have said this community is really nice, and perhaps, you know, this needs to feed into something off the back of it. That we've got all sorts of ideas, little tips and tutorial videos.
Yeah, we were going to say going down the education route, education. Yeah, you know, like spinning off tutorial videos. I've done a few of those just off my own back anyway, of specific techniques and stuff. And but I think, yeah, there will be some kind of spin on how to do XYZ, or what I would do, what do you do, you know, sort of thing, to get as much again, it's the interpretation, or how you were taught to do something. Share that so that everyone can have access to that, you know. It's you know, about pedagogies and various teachers and where you're from and how that's influenced the way you would approach something, technique, music, anything. So yeah, we have a few ideas on how to take this further. So
okay, cool. And hopefully in the mix there will be a live concert, maybe.
Do you know, yeah, we have been toying with the idea of that, and there are a couple of options, but may even do a live stream gig, maybe, who knows.
Yeah, cool. All right, so that's probably all the time we got for this evening, or this morning. Time zones do my head in. But Emma and Jenni, thank you so much for your time. And if you're interested in checking out the Lock the Sax Down, if you're on Instagram, you just simply put in the hashtag. I'll be posting up the link to the music and the challenge from Jenni's website, and I'll also be posting a link to the Kickstarter project. Now, as I said, the Kickstarter project is the entirety of the pieces being recorded by Emma, and it'd be fantastic to have them all, you know, on a CD form. I'm a bit old school. I really like the CD, so it'd be really nice to have it tangible there instead of out in the ether. Yeah, please be sure to, you know, if you spare even like a couple of pounds just to sort of help out, just anything to sort of get over the finish line, because there's some fantastic music and fantastic playing, and it's really something that should be, you know, brought to fruition, I feel. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time. Emma and Jenni, thank you so much again, and good luck with it.
Thanks for having us.
having us.
No worries.
Cheers.